Hi guys, I'm going through all my blasters with you, and right now you're looking at my Retaliator. This is the very first blaster that I bought. It's the one that I spent probably the most amount of time modding over the 18 or so months that I've been nerfing. And you can see that there's a few things going on here. So you've got a Gavin Fuzzy Pump Grip, you've got a fake airsoft sight, you've got Raider stock on the end. You can see that there's a Orange Modworks kit trigger inside. Inside it's got the Orange Modworks Stage 1 and Stage 2 kits. It's also got a Nerf Turf excuse me, a Nerf Turf 10 kilogram spring in it, which is quite frankly scary, both to prime and to fire. And what I'm going to be doing a bit later is I'm going to be swapping that out for the 7 kilogram Orange Modworks spring that I've got, to kind of put it back into a more playable state. It works, but it's hard work, and I've heard stories online and on some of the Britnerf forums and chats that the 10 kilogram Nerf Turf spring is killing Retaliators. So I intend to rip it open and replace the spring, and while I do that I shall also show you the insides. Everybody's seen a Retaliator, but I thought I'd show you mine. Right, excuse the mess. Quick update. You can see the mess. I've got my Retaliator apart, and there's been some problems, namely this little thing here. So I took it apart to take this monster spring out and put this less monstrous spring in. And when I took it apart, there was an issue way down here. You can see that the little bit of the dart release mechanism, magazine release, has snapped off. And if you look closely, there's some damage, get it to focus, in by here, so right by there. This came from when me and L11 had to yank a mag out that got stuck, and it's the first time I've had it open since then. So well, whilst it's probably workable and just about usable in this condition, I don't really want it to be, so I have put an emergency call out to the armourer, Dave RA, part of the Bristol Blast team, who is sending me a replacement pistol part of the Retaliator, which I'm going to rip all the bits I need to out of this and put it into that one. So let's see how that goes. So it's arrived, finally, after many, many hours of waiting. Let's open it up and see what we got. We have a donor, people! Woohoo! Okay, so we have harvested the shell from the donor blaster, thanks Dave RA. And now I get the chance to go through the internals, and then we'll put it back together, and we'll do some firing and some chronoing. So first things first, you'll notice that there's a couple of fishing weights that I have added to certain places in the blaster to give it an extra bit of weight, because I thought it was a little bit light and I wanted to be a bit heavier in hand. You can see that there's an Orange Modworks Stage 1 and 2 kit in here, along with a 7 kilogram spring. That's all going to be lubed up later. I just wanted to get it in here to get this done. There's a Blastersmiths UK spacer ring on the front to stop barrel wobble, and I have strategically placed a weaver rail right at the very top of the blaster to hold my fake airsoft red dot sight. And that's pretty much the internals. I like the trigger. I'm going to try and double up this spring to try and give it a bit more forceful feedback after firing, but that's about it. Just got to put it back together now. Okay, so we're back here again. So before I do the chrono in, I thought I'd just cover off a couple of bits that I forgot in the earlier parts of the video, and I do apologise that I've been chopping and changing and we're all over the place, but I realised that when I was doing the internals I forgot to mention two things. First one, I had to put some hot glue in the plunger head in order to get the whole thing to prime properly, and as a result, because of some of the other non-conformities with the Orange Moldworks kit. I also had to trim down a tiny little bit of the bolt sled so that the mag would sit nicely in the blaster. Now I'm going to try and prime it and try and, well, sort of see if I can get you guys to have a little look at what I did. So apologise for doing this one-handed. I don't know if you can see in there correctly. Nope, that's no good. Actually, you can just about make it out. Nope, no good. Just a second, I'll be back now. There we go, I said I'd be back. Right, it's that bit there, that top end of it. You see it's a bit jagged. That bit there I had to shave down just so that the magazine would sit nicely in the chamber. Without doing that, it would just bang, bang, bang against it all the time. Anyway, that's enough of this. Let's move on to Chrono results. Okay, so we're going to go very quickly over the Chrono results. I'll put a link in the description for the document, so if you want to go and have a look at it, you can. So I'm not going to go into masses of detail. But for the Nerf Turf 10 kg spring and the Retaliator, I was averaging across the entire pool about 105. Some really good highs, 140, 132, 120s, which are very good, but there's some bad darts in the pool, as you'd expect as a used pool. This is why I wanted to do these tests, so you can see that there's a kind of quite high extreme spread, and standard deviation is probably higher than I would like. But overall, in terms of the 10 kg spring, good performance, but very hard to use, I find. After the Chrono video, I had a quick conversation with Tom at Foam Data Services, and he suggested I have a look at this post on Britnerf. So I'll put a link in the description for that, which basically has a Chrono test procedure in it of how to do a decent set of Chrono shots to make sure that your average is up to standard, basically, to help standardise the process. So I had a read through of that, and I've tried to do that as best I can, because as you know, I swapped in the 7 kg spring, and I've got some results in there. So I've got 50 elite, 50 cushion, and 50 waffle tips, and you can see that in the graph. And the results for this are, I'm pleased with these. So across the entire pool, averaging 95.7ish. Elites obviously higher, 106. Cush, low 90s, and waffle tips, high 80s, which I was not expecting. Standard deviations are good. They're quite low, lower than the 10 kg spring, and the extreme spreads are lower as well. Might be to do with how consistent the spring is compared to the 10 kg Nerf Turf spring, potentially, although I did notice that my blaster broke, and the 10 kg spring was tested in the old body and the 7 kg was tested in the new body, but the internals were the same, so I'm assuming that's not going to make a difference. But got some highs in the kind of just over the 120s, some good highs around 125. As you can see in some of the data, quite a few over 100, but once you kind of dip into the Kush and the waffles, that average drops, as you'd expect. So overall, really good, really pleased with the performance, and looking forward to taking it to the next war. Catch you guys later.